What if the waters of Noah's flood never truly disappeared? If enough water once covered the highest mountains on Earth, then it could not simply vanish without breaking the laws of physics themselves. For centuries, this question has haunted both scientists and theologians alike, because somewhere beneath this planet, that water may still exist. Most explanations claim the floodwaters evaporated over time, but ancient texts describe something far stranger. They speak of the fountains of the great deep erupting from below the earth, not merely rain falling from the sky. And if those waters burst upward from hidden depths, then one terrifying possibility follows. They may have returned there again. Beneath our feet may lie far more than rock and magma. Some researchers now believe enormous reservoirs of water exist deep inside Earth's mantle, trapped under unimaginable pressure. The discovery of ringwoodite shocked many scientists because this mineral can store massive amounts of water far below the crust, potentially enough to rival multiple oceans on the surface today. Ancient Hebrew writings used the word tehon to describe a vast, chaotic abyss hidden beneath the world. For generations, such ideas were dismissed as myth. Yet, modern geology is beginning to uncover evidence that sounds disturbingly similar to those ancient descriptions. Psalm 104 declares that God set boundaries for the waters so they would never again cover the earth. But if the floodwaters were forced back into the deep, then a darker question emerges. What else was sealed down there with them? That question leads us into one of the most unsettling themes found in ancient scripture. Because the flood may not have only buried civilizations. According to several ancient texts, it may also have sealed away something far more dangerous. The Book of Enoch describes the Watcher's rebellious heavenly beings being imprisoned in deep places beneath the earth, chained within regions of darkness until a future judgment. The description is striking because it does not read like abstract symbolism. It speaks of confinement, depth, separation, and boundaries hidden far below the surface world. 2 Peter 2-4 declares, "For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment." The language becomes even more unsettling in Jude 1-6, which states they are reserved in everlasting chains under darkness, unto the judgment of the great day. Ancient people feared the underworld as a literal domain, not merely a metaphor for death. Greek tradition called this abyss Tartarus, a place believed to exist far beneath Hades itself, separated from the surface by unimaginable distance. Remarkably, the New Testament uses the term Tartaru when describing the punishment of rebellious angels, creating a direct connection between biblical judgment and the ancient abyss. Now imagine the flood through that lens. As the fountains of the great deep collapsed back beneath the earth, immense pressure may have sealed entire regions below like a planetary vault. Waters that once destroyed corruption on the surface may also have become barriers, imprisoning what remained underneath. Not simple caves, not hollow chambers, but a vast submerged prison concealed beneath layers of rock, darkness, and crushing pressure. Genesis says the floodgates of the deep were opened, but Scripture also implies they were shut again. And if something was locked below during those days, the next question becomes impossible to ignore. What was humanity being protected from? But the deeper this theory goes, the more disturbing the implications become. Because if massive reservoirs still exist beneath the planet, then traces of the ancient flood may still remain directly under humanity today. Some researchers believe Earth's crust functions more like a fragile shell stretched over regions of extreme pressure far below. Sudden seismic shifts, deep mantle activity, and even mysterious skyquakes reported across the world have led some theorists to wonder whether movements beneath the surface are far more complex than previously imagined. Romans 8:22 declares, "For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now." To many readers, that verse sounds symbolic, but others believe it may describe a creation still carrying scars from a catastrophic judgment long ago. Several biblical passages describe the earth in unusual ways. Psalm 24:2 says God founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods. Ancient Hebrew cosmology repeatedly connects the world above with waters beneath, portraying the earth almost like a boundary separating humanity from a hidden deep below. Modern seismic imaging has revealed enormous anomalies buried deep within the mantle. Some regions slow seismic waves dramatically, suggesting vast accumulations of molten material, unusual density zones, or trapped substances extending far beneath the crust. Scientists continue debating their exact nature, yet the discoveries themselves are undeniable. And that is where the fear begins to grow. Because humanity may not stand upon solid certainty as confidently as once believed. Beneath cities, oceans, and continents could exist colossal chambers shaped by pressures beyond human comprehension. Hidden systems, buried reservoirs, regions untouched by sunlight since the foundations of the ancient world. Job 38:16 asks a chilling question. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? Even now, the honest answer remains no. And if scripture, geology, and ancient memory are all pointing toward the same hidden abyss, then perhaps the greatest mystery beneath earth is not water alone, but what may still exist within that darkness. From here, the mystery moves into an even darker possibility. Because the Nephilim story may not have fully ended with the flood, ancient traditions connected to Genesis 6 claim the spirits of the giants remained after their destruction. But some interpretations go further, suggesting that if any physical remnants survived, they may have escaped into hidden regions beneath the earth as the waters collapsed back into the deep. Across the world, legends speak of underground realms and forgotten civilizations below the surface. Some believe these stories preserve distant memories of catastrophic events tied to the flood itself. If massive caverns existed beneath the earth, the returning waters could have transformed them into sealed prisons hidden under enormous pressure. Scripture repeatedly links the abyss with chaos and confinement. Isaiah 27:1 declares, "In that day the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent." The Hebrew word Sheol also describes more than a grave. It speaks of descent, gates, bars, and darkness beneath the world. Job 38:17 asks, "Have the gates of death been opened unto thee, or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death?" Those descriptions sound disturbingly physical. Revelation later speaks of the bottomless pit being opened, releasing entities long imprisoned below. Whether symbolic or literal, the imagery points toward something sealed beneath the earth itself. And if remnants of the flood still remain there today, then every deep earthquake and unexplained tremor beneath the oceans raises the same terrifying possibility. Something beneath the surface may still be waiting. If these ancient mysteries are pulling you deeper, stay with this video, because what Scripture reveals next about the abyss becomes even more unsettling. But before going deeper, one question must be answered. How could enough water exist to completely cover mountains like Everest? Some researchers believe the world before the flood looked nothing like the planet we know today. Mountain ranges may have been far lower, while ocean basins were much shallower than the deep trenches now hidden beneath the seas. In that scenario, the flood did not simply cover the earth, it reshaped it. Psalm 104 describes this transformation with striking imagery. Mountains rising and valleys sinking into the places appointed for them. Many interpret this as a massive upheaval of Earth's surface during and after the flood itself. Entire sections of crust could have collapsed downward, while new mountain ranges were forced upward under unimaginable pressure. That would explain where the waters went. Instead of disappearing, they may have filled newly opened depths beneath the oceans and deep within the earth. The flood was not only a judgment upon the surface world, it may also have been the event that permanently reorganized the planet's structure. And tied to that catastrophe was the judgment of the Nephilim. Ancient traditions claimed the spirits of the giants continued wandering after death, while the rebellious watchers who corrupted humanity were imprisoned beneath the earth. According to Jude, 1-6. They remain reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. The flood did not just erase a civilization. It may have sealed an ancient rebellion beneath the planet itself. Jude describes the fallen beings as being kept in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. And strangely, the deepest regions beneath earth match that description with unsettling precision. Endless darkness, crushing pressure, isolated chambers untouched by sunlight. Modern science has already discovered organisms surviving deep below the oceans in conditions once thought impossible for life. That discovery has caused some to reconsider how little humanity truly understands about the hidden world beneath the crust. But biblical depictions of the deep are far darker than modern hollow earth fantasies. Scripture does not describe glowing civilizations beneath the planet. It describes confinement, flooded depths, abysses, places associated with judgment and separation from the surface world. This may explain why so many ancient cultures feared what existed below them. In Sumerian tradition, the Abzu was described as a vast subterranean water realm connected to hidden powers and ancient knowledge. Similar ideas appear across civilizations separated by thousands of miles, all pointing towards something dangerous buried beneath the earth itself. The pattern is difficult to ignore. Again and again, ancient traditions connect the underworld with imprisoned forces, forbidden depths, and catastrophic destruction if those boundaries are broken. The flood may not have only cleansed the Earth's surface. It may also have driven corruption downward into a sealed region beneath the planet. And if those barriers were ever disturbed again, Scripture suggests the consequences would reach the surface world once more. This leads to another disturbing possibility. If a pre-flood civilization possessed knowledge far beyond what later generations inherited, could some have attempted to survive beneath the earth before the catastrophe fully erupted? Some researchers point to unusual artifacts discovered inside ancient geological layers as possible anomalies that challenge conventional timelines. Others remain skeptical, but the debate itself continues because the flood narrative describes destruction happening suddenly and violently, not through slow, natural processes over countless ages. Fossil evidence across the planet often reveals creatures buried rapidly, frozen in moments of chaos beneath layers of mud and sediment. Waters erupting from deep within the earth could have carried intense heat, minerals, and pressure capable of transforming entire ecosystems in a short period of time. Genesis describes the fountains of the great deep breaking open, and many believe those forces permanently altered the structure of the world. But an even more unsettling question follows. If those subterranean systems still exist beneath the crust today, could they one day become unstable again? The covenant, after the flood, promised that the world would not be destroyed again by water. Yet, prophecy still speaks of future global upheaval. Isaiah 24:20 warns, "The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard." Revelation also describes massive earthquakes unlike anything humanity has experienced before. Some interpret these passages symbolically. Others believe they point toward catastrophic changes involving forces hidden deep beneath the planet itself. And if ancient chambers still remain sealed below, they may contain far more than water alone. Under this theory, reports of unidentified objects entering and leaving the oceans begin to sound very different. Some researchers have speculated that if hidden access points exist beneath the seas, certain phenomena may originate below the earth rather than beyond it. Humanity constantly searches the skies for the unknown, yet Scripture repeatedly points downward toward the abyss, the deep, and the regions beneath the earth. Modern geology has now confirmed the existence of enormous water reservoirs buried deep within the mantle. To many, these discoveries are purely scientific, but to others, they echo descriptions written thousands of years ago about hidden waters beneath creation itself. Philippians 2:10 describes three realms: things in heaven, and things in earth, and things under the earth. That language has fascinated biblical scholars for centuries because it presents reality as layered vertically, with the abyss existing below the world of humanity. Some ancient traditions believed the flood forced chaotic forces into that lowest realm, sealing them beneath water, stone, and darkness until an appointed time. In that interpretation, the abyss functions almost like a containment zone hidden beneath the oceans themselves. And if that boundary still exists today, then the greatest unknown may not be somewhere among the stars. It may already be waiting beneath the sea. Every drop of water on Earth is part of an ancient cycle. The same substance that once covered the world during the flood still moves through oceans, clouds, rivers, and deep reservoirs hidden beneath the planet today. Modern discoveries of vast underground water systems have changed how some researchers view Earth itself. Rather than a lifeless sphere of solid rock, the planet appears far more dynamic, layered with hidden chambers, pressure systems, and massive reservoirs buried deep below the crust. But the deeper question is not only where the water went, it is why so much of it remains sealed beneath the surface. Some scientists believe these underground systems help stabilize Earth's internal balance. Yet, symbolically, they also resemble boundaries humanity was never meant to cross. Scripture repeatedly portrays the abyss as a place separated from the world above, a region associated with confinement, darkness, and forces removed from the light. Job 38:30 describes the face of the deep being frozen or restrained. Throughout the Bible, the deep is not presented as empty space, but as something controlled and held back. That idea becomes increasingly unsettling as humanity pushes farther into deep-sea exploration and underground drilling. Every descent beneath the oceans feels like peering through a locked doorway into a realm ancient civilizations warned about repeatedly. Because according to those traditions, the underworld was never intended for human rule. It was a prison. In the end, the flood was about far more than water. It marked a separation between the world of humanity and the forces cast down into the deep. According to ancient biblical tradition, the surface of the earth was given back to mankind, while the abyss became a place of confinement, reserved for rebellious beings awaiting judgment. For thousands of years, that boundary has remained intact, but prophecy warns it will not remain closed forever. Revelation speaks of the bottomless pit being opened. Other passages describe a future shaking of the earth unlike anything before. To some, these are symbolic warnings. To others, they point toward the collapse of barriers established long ago after the flood itself. The conflict connected to the Watchers and the Nephilim did not simply disappear from history. It was buried. And perhaps that is why so many ancient cultures feared the deep waters beneath the earth and sea. Beneath calm oceans may rest more than geological mystery. There may also exist the memory of a judgment the world was never meant to forget. Philippians 2:10 declares that beings exist in heaven and in earth and under the earth. That statement presents reality as layered, with hidden depths below humanity still waiting for an appointed time. Humanity lives on a thin crust above forces it barely understands. The abyss remains, the waters remain, and whatever was sealed there long ago has not been forgotten by Scripture. The only question is whether those ancient boundaries will hold forever. If this investigation changed the way you see the flood, the abyss, and the hidden world beneath the earth, continue exploring these ancient mysteries, because some questions buried in Scripture may be far more literal than humanity ever imagined.